Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Barker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Hi everybody, welcome along to, where are we now? Anglesey, virtually Anglesey, and only 3 race dates to go on our current season with myself, Richard John Neal, and very good news indeed is that we've got Jack with us again. Hi Jack, how are you?
I'm not bad, Richard. Yes, thank you very much. It should be a decent night's racing, this one. I sort of mentioned last week at the end of the broadcast that I have absolutely no idea what Anglesey has in store, but I've been assured by pretty much everyone I've spoken to that it's a wonderful, very modern circuit, which is not something I could really thought I would be saying. I was under the assumption that Anglesey was quite an old-fashioned one, but apparently it's one of the newer builds in motorsport in the UK. So yeah, it should be awesome. Apparently the views are amazing. Not that we'll probably appreciate them very much in the virtual world, but oh well, I'm sure it'll still be good.
Very true. I understand you had a few school trips to Anglesey, but not to the circuit.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I went to Menai, really, and it was a big prison, effectively. It was like one of the... It wasn't actually a prison, but that's what it looked like. Anybody who's gone to Menai will probably understand. But yeah, effectively, it was one of these sort of out-of-school, outdoor adventure activities, team-building things, and yeah, I had to go there quite a few times. But so it's not that far away from where I grew up, but not as close as Oulton Park, so we never really mention it when we come in terms of local racetracks.
As you'll have gathered, Jack Oliver is not brought to you by the Anglesey Tourist Board.
No, absolutely not.
It's a great. I'm really excited this year because I've got 2 trips to Anglesey. First, I think it's the first year I've ever done 2, and I'm really excited to be going. Both of them VRRC trips. One with the Ginetta G-Fest, which is a superb place for them to go. Really looking forward to it. So yeah, if you're on got a spare weekend, come and join us for the VRRC stuff or the Ginetta G-Fest. You'll be most welcome, and it is a really good day out. Jack, hope that we get to see you at one of those as well. Mega track, it's built into the landscape. It's the original circuit, I think, was to some degree, but then Richard Peacock, who owns the facility, decided to make it that much bigger and give it more of an international flavour, and just uses the contours of the land. You'll see that when we have our hot lap a little bit later on, if you've not seen the circuit before. It's really built into, it's the very antithesis of, you know, the boring tilk circuits that you get in F1. It's got gradients, it's got great corners. It's a wonderful facility. Some people say that it's a bit of a pain to get to, but do you know what? It's worth the drive every time, even if it's chucking down with rain on both days that we use it. And today we're on the full international circuit. The international circuit's great. There's a little shorter track, which is also brilliant because you've got that nice corkscrew section as well. Can't wait for that. What happened though, last week I was away on another island, the Isle of Wight, and the championship now on drop scores down to just 4 points between Joel Lask and Nicky Taylor. Jack, was it eventful last week?
It was very eventful, yeah. Before we get into the championship, and I love the little teaser that you put in there, though. It's great to have a look back and see what actually happened. Well, Elliot Dalton-Ayres came out at top, and he's really flying, isn't he? Since he's joined the championship in round 3, he's pretty much been on the top step nearly every single time. He didn't get the win in race 1. That was actually going the way of Andy Carroll, who, of course, got the 3rd most amount of points, which is astonishing, really, how many points Elliot Dalton-Ayres and Nicky Taylor gathered, because Carroll, who came 3rd overall in that evening, actually got a win, but then in the second race came 14th. So everybody else must have had a very inconsistent round. But Nicky Taylor, 2 podiums, oh no, very close to 2 podiums. I think he came 4th or 5th in the second race, but 2nd in the first race. He was flying as well. And really, he obviously is a championship favourite along with Joel Lask. You mentioned the championship, Richard. That paints the picture of last week, but the overall season looks a little bit different. Joel Lask is right at the top of it.
He is. Joel Lasto, last week, Croft was his drop score in these standings. He's a 165. 4 points down is Nicky Taylor, who's closing that gap. Is he going to do more of the same this week? We'll have to wait and see. Brad Smith in third. A little bit of a gap to Brad, but a tiny gap between himself and Josh Martin. Josh, another driver who drops last weekend's round, as you can see from the red 17 figure there. Then a few points further back, Andy Carroll, last week's race winner, in fifth. Tom Churchhouse next up from Elliot Dalton, Ayres and Nathan Smith. Craig Curtis in 10th from Chris Blakey, who I think was our other reverse grid race winner last week. He wraps up our top 10 on 79 points. Johnny Ogden 11th on 68 from John Higgins, who I think is missing in action. This would be his local circuit, I think, if he was with us. Kenny Press next from Paul Laramie and Lee Piercy 15th. From Thomas Potter, the Teapot. Been watching some more of his great videos. Don't celebrate too soon, Thomas, if you're on the podium this weekend. I think you know what I'm saying. 17th is Adam Lyle from Sam Milner. John Jones, 19th, DNS last week. Hopefully back from weekend off for him this week. Then Stu Henderson, 20th from Zamfir Radu. Simon Thorpe, 22nd. Dave Heisman getting a few points for his campaign. He's 23rd, jointly with Matt Smith. Sam Walton on 7. Alok Iyengar, 26, 4 points is Mark Stokes, and non-scorers Stuart Vickers and Julian Alwandi. So all good with our championship table. This is the circuit, full international one today. The Legends cars, when they race around here, get through, I hate to tell you how much money they spend on brakes because of the two very, very heavy braking zones at the hairpin, which you can see towards the top right of your graphic, and then down at the bus stop, which is at the end of that straight. So it's very, very heavy on those two sections, particularly on brakes. Now, I think you've had a go in a BMW sim, was that right, Jack?
Yes, I gave it a good go. I was spinning at nearly every single corner, but to be fair, it wasn't the international one. It was the coastal circuit, or national circuit, I think. So it was a little bit different. It didn't have all the corners that we've got here today, but I'm sure it'll be entertaining. If anybody wondering what on earth it looks like in one of these minis, well, you're not alone because I do as well. Hopefully, Richard will talk us through it with Andy Carroll behind the wheel.
Yep, very much love to do that. It's a great circuit and you're in for a real treat, not only from the hot lap, but also the racing that we've got coming up for you today. So here we come. We're ready to join Andy Carroll on circuit. Makes it around that final turn on the home straight. Coming up towards turn one, the right-hander, which is called Target. A lot of military connotations with some of the corner names that we've got here. Out of Target, up towards the banking, which is a hairpin. Very slightly banked. In reality, probably looks a little bit more banked now. Not as bad as the Shell Oil's hairpin at Oulton Park, but there is enough banking for a good outside line in the wet. Then they accelerate down into the right-hander, sweeping right-hander called Church. Let's be honest, this is as close to going to Church as many of our drivers are going to get all season. They go through that, past the school circuit loop, there's a shorter school circuit here, then uphill. This is a potential overtaking place on the inside to our left as they go into the Rocket Complex. We've done part one, this is part two. Not like you see too much overtaking here, maybe a few moves on the outside as they accelerate down the straight towards the next corner, which is known as Peel, which is named after the late great DJ John Peel, who did his national service here on Anglesey, and actually one-time driver of TVR Tuscan. I met him at Snetterton many years ago. Then it's round through the corkscrew and up onto the Tom Price straight, named after the late great Tom Price. Made it into Formula One with Shadow, and then very much hard on the brakes, as I mentioned earlier on, coming into the hairpin, out of the hairpin, down the old main straight of the old circuit. You can see the pit lane entrance to the old circuit there on the left of the track, down in towards the last corner, the bus stop, hard on the brakes again, hopefully nobody diving up your inside as you accelerate out of there, across the line, and that is a lap of the Anglesey International Circuit, courtesy of Andy Carroll, who is 5th in the championship. Mega lap that, and I can't wait to get there, and it's actually lovely. The thing that virtual reality is not giving you at the moment is the fact that it very often does rain on Anglesey, and I think rain is coming, isn't it, soon to virtual racing?
Well, yes. I mean, we have done it before here at VRRC, and a bit hit and miss, shall we say. We actually had variable weather for a championship or two, and although it was very entertaining and everything like that, it was also, I don't think, really settled well with the drivers, in my opinion. Don't know really why. I mean, it's just rain. It's happened in real life, so in my opinion, it should happen on the sim. But it's all about how you transmit the grip levels, and it gets a little bit more complicated and everything like that. So yeah, we're gone with the dry, the one day of the year where Anglesey's probably pretty dry, Richard. And these minis have just turned up for it, which is delightful, isn't it? That means we'll probably be getting lap record pace around it, because it's never normally this boat dry.
No, absolutely right. I was there one day. We did a clubby many years ago, and on the Saturday, and it was pouring down with rain. And the commentary box at the time had one of those supermarket checkout mics, so you had to keep your finger on it all the time. You know, the sort of things of it, which was awful. The officials, we were in with the officials, and they were getting the ump because I was shouting and hollering as I do. But it was a wet Saturday, and I was talking to the circuit public relations guy, and I said, you know, what sort of crowd do you get on a wet Saturday? And he said, it's very good today. He said, we've got 25 people through the gate today.
Yeah, well, that's about the entirety of Anglesey, isn't it? Just
there were a lot more on the Sunday. To be fair, it was a sort of mainly a sort of qualifying sort of build-up day. But yeah, it was a little bit soul-destroying. Not the most soul-destroying commentary I've ever done. I think the non-commentary when I went to Qua once, and they don't actually have commentary at Qua, so I went all the way out there with the legends and the Genetic Juniors, and I didn't have a commentary box because it's just they just raced and that's it. Yeah, so but I had a lovely weekend watching this. Anyway, Andy Carroll setting the pace in qualifying at the moment, 1:35.96 early doors from Joel Lask, championship leader. Elliot Dalton-Ayres is third. Nicky Taylor, who will definitely want to close the gap on Joel Lask up front, is down at the moment in 5th place for Chris Blakey.
Yeah, so I was expecting Joel Lask to be slightly struggling because he's got a lot of weight on board. Nicky Taylor, who had a lot of weight on board at Croft as well, they've only got 5 kilos difference. Joel Lask being the heavier at 45. Joel couldn't get anywhere near Nicky's lap time, and the tyres were chewing away, and he wasn't having a good time, whereas Nicky was absolutely flying. It seems in practice, it's not just the beginning of this qualifying. In practice, they were sort of roles reversed, so Joel Lask was a little bit quicker. Elliot Dalton-Ayres, classic, is right up there at the sharp end. Just to give you a bit of an idea, he's 7th in the championship now, but only 20 kilos on board, so he's probably got the most well-rounded car in terms of the top runners, as well as obviously having ultimately a barrel load of pace. Andy Carroll, 5th in the championship, means he's only got 15 kilograms of ballast on board. He also won Drive of the Round a couple of weeks ago. Elliot Dalton-Ayres won Drive of the Round last week, and I'm just having a look. Has Joel Lask won it just yet? No, Joel Lask hasn't won Drive of the Round, so yeah, just to keep an eye on who's won all that sort of thing. A driver that you mentioned earlier in terms of his drop score at Croft, Richard, was Josh Martin. Do you have any idea why Josh Martin potentially has dropped his round at Croft? Have you heard the drama or the speculation to do with him?
No, I haven't had a chance to catch up with that yet.
Right, well, so he was at Croft, and during the sessions, I think between qualifying and race 1, or maybe race 1 and race 2, he actually messaged Rich and said, is there any chance I've got a restrictor on my car? He could not get any time out of it. It was wallowing down in about 15th position at best. He said, no, there can't be any possibility of that, Josh. Don't know what you're on about, sort of thing. Anyway, he checked all his settings after race 2, found out he'd left the handbrake on 25%. So that is why Josh Martin was so bad last week. And we expected to climb.
And he's going to thank you. He's going to thank you for that, isn't he?
Yeah, I know. He did message us, and I think he put it in the YouTube chat as well, potentially, but it was after everybody had gone. So, yeah, Josh Martin, hopefully he's sorted his buttons out this time, and he can move up a little bit higher.
Yeah, I hope so. He's struggling down in 11th at the moment, so sort of, I guess just trying to get himself sorted out with this track, which is, as we say, a debut track for the Virtual Reality Racing Club. And, yeah, nice to have it. I say it's a terrific circuit, really. One that I'd love to see the real life JCWs go around. If ever they do a mini fest, maybe they can drag them all up there and get around it. It's a beautiful place, and you've got people like Fifth Gear using it as their test circuit for their programs, and lots of F3 teams will go testing here because it has got a terrific flow for it. And I'm surprised they've sort of not attracted bigger championships. I know that the infrastructure maybe getting into the track isn't perhaps as good because it's a very narrow lane getting in. But that's really the only thing that would make life difficult for the bigger championships coming here in real life.
I've heard that it's a very good sort of. I've seen a lot of people go testing here. In terms of, I think even Ginetta after, so obviously they have Blighton, don't they, the Ginettas, and I think they even bought the G58 when they were developing that here, and because it does give you, the Radicals developed quite a lot here, because it does give you a little bit of everything, doesn't it? And if nothing else, it's a hell of a backdrop. Not only the Irish Sea, which we can sort of see, there's some point in those mountains in the background is snow. Oh my God, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Snowdonia, isn't it? I was going to say Snowdon. Is it Snowdonia? Snowdonia is the area. Thank you, Rich. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I was messing one of them up, but Snowdon's back there in Snowdonia at some point. So yeah, it's an amazing place to go, as you said, and unfortunately I haven't been there myself, but it does look like a very nice flowing circuit, hopefully with plenty of overtaking opportunities.
I hope so, yeah, there definitely are some. So Dalton Ayres now on pole, 1:35.792, and Carroll on just a 10th down. Joel Lask and Nicky Taylor are together championship-wise. That's very exciting as we watch Andy Carroll, who gave us our hot lap, looking to grab pole position, and it goes back to the top of the timing screen with a 1:35.774. Missing the Smith brothers this weekend, aren't we? This week.
Well, I was far too polite to correct you on that whenever you said it before, Richard. But yeah, it's a weekday. To be fair, that catches us out all the time. We've been doing it a lot longer than you. So on the Wednesday nights, Craig Curtis is currently 10th, but he's 2 green sectors. Craig was very quick last time out. I think, yeah, there we go. He fires himself all the way up to 3rd place. His sector 3 was not really as quick as he probably would like it to be. It wasn't exactly slow, but it wasn't his quickest time. So Craig Curtis almost completed the trifecta of 3 green sectors, but it was only good enough to put him up to 3rd position. But that is ahead of Joel Lask and Nicky Taylor. And from memory, Craig Curtis, as I said, was very, very quick at Croft. He's getting a habit, along with Andy Carroll, of pushing right at the top end of the envelope. Elliot Dalton Ayres just gone green in sector 1. We could see a new pole position. You could see him actually retake the pole position because he was about 2 tenths up in that sector 1.
Yeah, he's looking good at the moment, isn't he, with that green sprouting up. Let's see how that goes. We're riding on board now. This is coming out of the Rocket Complex. Actually, it's coming out of Peel now, isn't it? Downhill. You'll see the little shoot away to the right of shot, which takes you down the corkscrew, but they're not doing that today. They're going up from the coastal circuit, as you rightly called it, onto the Thorpe International and onto the Tom Price Straight, and then into this hairpin. Let's see whether we are going to get a faster lap from Elliot Dalton Ayres. Remember, missed the first 2 events of the season, Donington Park and Silverstone rounds. Coming through into the last corner now, and across the line, Andy Carroll still on pole. Elliot Dalton Ayres, well, remains second, but it's 1800ths of a second down now on Andy Carroll. So the battle is beginning to up with 2 minutes 54 to go.
He was about 2 tenths of a second down there, wasn't he, Elliot Dalton Ayres, on that lap that he did sort of start so promisingly. Johnny Ogden's on 2 green sectors. He had actually just set his best lap of the qualifying a couple of laps ago, but he's back now out on a flyer with 2.5 minutes. It looks like this could be a really quick time for Johnny. It might not be troubling right at the front, but he should be able to knock off maybe even half a second to his name as he comes round the final corner. Where can he jump up? Can he get inside the top 10? No, he really messed up the final sector, unfortunately, for Johnny Ogden, which means he's not moving up any further. Chris Blakey in 9th position. He's gone green in sector 1, and he's actually the only driver inside the top 10 that's got a green sector to his name at all in this particular lap. So it looks like we're probably going to be focusing on him. Brad Smith wants a championship contender. Is it a bit harsh to say he's potentially not anymore? He's in 3rd place and about 40 points off. So it's probably not going to be him for the championship in terms of 1st or 2nd. He is still in those podium positions. He is currently in 9th place in qualifying with green sector 1 and not so hot in sector 2, but not too far off it, maybe a 10th or so. I think he's probably lost this lap, unfortunately.
Elliot's got a green sector 2 in 2nd position, so we'll see what he can do in that 3rd section. Is he going to be able to nail in a late pole position. Oh, runs a little bit wide there, does Elliott, so still remains in second position. Craig Coates very healthy third, as we said. Joel Lask in fourth. This is a little bit of a wild card round, isn't it? If the track is not familiar to a lot of these folks, so it is good to see. And yeah, just sort of throws all the cards up in the air just a little bit with just a minute to go now. And at the moment, it looks like Andy Carroll is, well, curse the commentator, isn't it? If you say Andy Carroll is looking good for that pole position.
Especially with Joel Lask, who's just gone green in sector 1 here. It's he's looking about 2/10 up, and a championship leader would absolutely love the points on pole position. But Andy Carroll's just gone green in sector 2, so you may not have given him the commentator's curse just yet. Josh Martin green in sector 2 as well, but we're all focusing a little bit on Joel Lask, because Josh Martin's just accidentally gone and done track limits on sector 3. Might have even come into the pits actually. In sector 2, not quite as good, but Nicky Taylor's improving. This is a right down to the wire qualifying as he goes around the hairpin and approaches the final corner. Joel Lask.
Yep, so Joel coming down the hill and getting ready to see if he can just extend it. 5 seconds left, so might just be able to squeeze. He's going to be able to squeeze another lap, or are we going to run out of time? He's going to run out of time before he gets to the line. So that is it, and Lash goes up into third place ahead of Craig Curtis. And you know why we change positions, is because I've started to write them down. That happens every week. So we do get some changes last knockings, but at the moment it's Andy Carroll that takes the pole from Elliott Dalton Ayres. Those two still on their last lap. Joel Lask in third, Craig Curtis fourth, Lee Piercy is fifth at the moment. He is done, so it's really Carroll and Dalton Ayres that we need to look out for, as Josh Martin now comes across the line, 7th position, so improved from that 11th that he was wallowing down in earlier on. He's taken his handbrake off now.
Yeah, lucky him. He's actually not finished the lap yet, Richard, actually. He's only done 2 sectors. He's going down to the final corner now. He is improving quite drastically. Carroll and Elliott Dalton Ayres not improving, so don't expect there's going to be a change for pole position. But we could see Josh Martin ruffle a few feathers.
He could well do. Comes across the line now and stays in 7th position. So there is Josh. A little bit of work to do from there. I'm guessing with the 19 drivers that we've got out there, it's going to mean that the reverse grid race, there might be a little bit more manoeuvrability to come through from the back in race 2. But let's not get ahead of ourselves there as we watch Andy Carroll go across the line again at 1:35.695 his time. So we just need Elliott Dalton Ayres now. Here he is, rounds the final turn. This effectively is going to complete our qualifying. What can Elliott do as he crosses the line and finishes in P2? So it's Carroll from Elliott Dalton Ayres. I think it means I'm going to get my first pole position interview with Andy Carroll, because he was on pole, wasn't he, last time out at Croft. The man's hitting some form at the minute.
He is indeed, yeah. We'll be able to hear that interview in a couple of minutes' time once we've heard from our quick sponsor.
So welcome to our pole position interview. Let's hope we can catch up with him. Andy Carroll, many congratulations. Richard calling Andy. Come in, Andy. I think we're having a few problems there with Andy Carroll. He's obviously speechless, which is Not good. Let's see if we can reboot him and have a quick word with our pole position man. Andy Carroll, are you there? Nope, we're not getting Andy. So what do we do now? Do we get Elliot Dalton and get a P2 interview, or do we just talk amongst ourselves while we look at it? We'll see if we can get Andy for you. A bit of a shame because it's the first time that I've had the opportunity to do a poll interview, but 2 on the bounce for him. He's not showing up in the podium right. We're trying to get him in again. So we'll say again, Andy Carroll, well done.
I've actually brought Elliot Dalton in, actually, because
Even
Andy
better.
was clearly not playing ball. He was clearly starstruck from you, Richard. So I thought Elliot maybe come in and have a chat.
Hello.
Oh, no, we've got Andy. We've got Andy.
Sorry.
Hey, mate, well done on pole. Double pole, really, because you got Croft pole last week and now Anglesey. So setting a bit of a benchmark for everybody.
Yeah, I waited years. It's like a bus. You wait for ages and then 2 come along. Yeah, really chuffed with that. That was my quickest lap of the week in the end there. So yeah, really chuffed.
That's fantastic. Well done. I mean, how much of a difference does it make coming on to what is for the club an unfamiliar circuit?
It's a tricky one. It's a really tricky circuit. There's a very specific line to get pace out of it, and if you go a little bit too deep or you touch the wrong curve, you've got at least 1 or 2 tenths disappears in certain corners. So it's a really technical circuit. Yeah, I think for a lot of the week I was out ahead, and then sort of the last couple of days, the quick guys seemed to have caught right up, and yeah, Elliot had me worried there for a bit. He was really quick today, but yeah, I think just did enough to hold on to that. That was tough, but yeah, really enjoyable as well. So
let's wind the clock back to last week. I'm sorry I couldn't join you all last week and missed out, but obviously a winning race number 1, so congratulations on that. But 14th race 2, now that doesn't sound too great, but as we saw on the points graphic at the start of the show with Jack, you were the 3rd top point scoring driver on the day. So it just goes to show how competitive Croft was.
yeah, it's one of those race 2 things where you're trying to make your way up through the field and just had a little bit of a coming together with someone, and that spanned me out, ended up at the back, and yeah, I think managed to get back up to 14th. But yeah, that's the risk in race 2 when you're starting from near the back, is you've got to try and get past, and sometimes just takes that tiniest bit of contact, and yeah, your race is pretty much done at that point. But yeah, obviously enjoyed Croft and enjoying this track, so hopefully just got to try and make it through and see if I can keep Elliot behind me. I got lucky with Elliot last week. He made a mistake and rolled his car. I don't think he's going to do that again this week, and so yeah, I've got Joel and Elliot right behind me. It's going to be quite the battle to try and keep them behind me, but yeah, I can imagine this is quite a tough track to overtake once you get second half of the lap. There's not many places where you can really kind of make a move on people, so hopefully they'll have a bit of a battle between themselves and let me get a nice lead.
Yeah.
But
is it a track you've been to? Have you visited it in real life, this one?
Sadly not. No. It's it's quite remote, the track. So no, I haven't made it that far, unfortunately.
That's good. Okay, well, we look forward to seeing you in the race. Andy, well done on getting pole position. Thanks for the chat, and hopefully we'll catch up with you on the podium after race 1.
Oh, I certainly hope so. Thank you.
It was worth the wait, wasn't it, getting Andy Carroll with us? So we're looking forward to that. I think before we go on with the race, we've got a few other bits and pieces courtesy of the Virtual Reality Racing Club that you might want to catch up with. So here's Jack to tell you a little bit more.
Yes, thank you very much, Richard. Again, muted my mic, but oh well, I'm back. Yeah, luckily, Rich is actually half the amount we have to talk about now, so I don't have to literally wrap it. Round 1 of the World Endurance League and round 2 have been and gone, but we are slowly coming up to the second round. A lot of people have been waiting for quite some time, me included, and Andy, of course. Well, at Spa on April the 10th. After this championship of the minis comes to a conclusion, we go to Spa and Le Mans. Now you can see the rest of the tracks there as well. Sao Paulo, Kota, Fuji, and Bahrain, and they're all run through basically the entire year interrupted by some major championships like the Mini that we've got here today. If you want to get involved, then by all means, it's not too late. You can drive any of the 4 wonderful cars, the BMW, the Lamborghini, the Lexus, or the Mercedes. And of course, they're sort of open. You can jump in, you can get going. All you have to do is be a member of the VRRC and you get it for free. If you are a non-member, then it's £10 per round. There are prizes on offer, first, second, and third place trophies, driver of the round medals, all that sort of good kit and caboodle. So the World Endurance League, if you want to get involved in some 90-minute racing, in quote, endurance racing, this is as much endurance as we've ever done on the VRRC, then by all means get involved and come on down. But that's not all we've got to chat about. Is the other half of my little rant here is going to be about the time attacks. There we go. We're going to a whole new plethora of theme here. Time attacks, it's formulas, and we're doing Formula 4 at Zandvoort to kick it all off. A fantastic track, and a good car, a brilliant track. Makes for an awesome time as well, I'm sure, because the Formula 4 is accessible, but also it takes some real skill to get the most amount of it. Something that me and Rich haven't managed to do yet on the simulator days that we sometimes run for companies. Although I am quicker, let's just get that in the record. Formula 3 is the next up on 1st of April, and it's around the Melbourne circuit before we head over to the Formula 2 at the Red Bull Ring on the 15th of April, and 2 weeks after that, the Formula 1 car. By God, it's hard to drive around the circuit de Catalunya. If you thought that circuit was a bit annoying in the first place, try doing it in a Formula 1 car on a Assetto Corsa. Really very difficult. But they're the next it's not 4 weeks, it's 8 weeks of time attacks. And you can, by all means, jump in. It's free entry to VRRC members at any point during the 2 weeks. Jump in on the server, whatever car it is, just get involved. It's a really, really good fun. And I believe that is pretty much all for what I had to talk about. So let's have a very quick word with our sponsor before we, theorize what's going to happen in the race.
A very grateful thanks to our series sponsor, CAMMUS, the JCW Mini Car powered by Phoenix Racing, as we look forward to race 1 of our pre-anti-penultimate race day of this season. That's a very big word. It's the longest word you'll get out of me all season. So here we go. We've got Andy Carroll on pole position, getting ready for the start of this one. Elliot Dalton-Ayres is alongside. There might be a case to say that Elliot could have a good run here with a minute to go off of, as we look at them, he's the blue car on the left of the circuit. Get a good run here around to the left-hander. Yeah, could be an exciting start, Jack.
Well, you know better than me, Richard. Is it possible to go round the outside here, approaching on the first lap?
It is, yeah, but pole position is on the as we look at it on the right, so that is, obviously advantage to Andy Carroll here. But get a good launch. We've got 30 seconds to go. It is possible to go around the outside, and I have seen quite a few races from Anglesey and some absolute belters, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be in for a 25-minute belter here as the lights go on the gantry. Ready for our start. Sequence is underway. Long wait, keeping the nerves jangling in the cars, and it's Andy Carroll that will
try and get away, take the lead as they go into target for the first time. But Elliot Dalton-Ayres here, if he can hang on to, and Carroll just raises a wheel. Dalton-Ayres did make it around the outside and around target and up to the banking for the first time with Andy Carroll in second place.
Yeah, Andy Carroll will be disappointed, won't he? Because he's got a championship leader behind. But Joel Lask won't be too bothered about Brad Smith getting in Nicky Taylor's way. Nicky's got Craig Curtis to deal with as well. So the front three somewhat pulling away, but majorly Elliot Dalton-Ayres. Is anybody going to catch him? I wouldn't put money on it, that's for sure. Once he gets got in the lead in this mini, he seems to be untouchable. But Carroll versus Lask may well be something that holds everybody else up, with Brad Smith, Nicky Taylor, Craig Curtis, Paul Laramie, Josh Martin and Tom Churchhouse changing positions in 8th and 9th place. We don't seem to have any major upsets in terms of people crashing into each other or falling into the Irish Sea. So hopefully that will continue for the rest of the race.
I thought we were going to get some shenanigans going into that rocket complex the first time. You see it in real world racing, and my thoughts were that as this was the first time for many of these people here, that was the case, but they behaved themselves impeccably there as far as I could see. And that is good news for the entire field as we go up towards the banking for the second time. So it's Dalton-Ayres leading from Andy Carroll. Joel Lask, the championship leader, next up from Brad Smith. Nicky Taylor is in 5th place. Then Craig Curtis and Paul Laramie, Tom Churchhouse. Josh Martin in 9th has lost a little bit of ground on the opening lap as they come to the conclusion of lap number 2. Now, Elliot Dalton-Ayres, is that Andy Carroll going to get himself back on terms, or is he going to just engage in battle with Joel Lask, who's trying to close down him? Lask has got Brad Smith all over him at the moment, so Smith is looking quite handy. Look at the wider entry into the banking for Brad Smith in the green car, trying to get the momentum here, maybe pick up a little bit of a toe once they go around the right hand here at Church and up the hill. This is where you can maybe pick up a little bit of aerodynamic aid and try and reel in or work with the car in front, and then perhaps make a move, jinking over to the left once you've completed this climb uphill into the rocket complex. I don't think anyone's close enough in the top 4 to make a move. There is a slightly tighter run in from Brad Smith there, but he can't do anything about it, and the top 4 are as they were.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the slipstream is going to matter much here, is it? It's a bit of a shame, really, because that would offer the rocket complex a really nice overtaking opportunity. But Elliot Dalton-Ayres just seemed to have a bit of breathing room, 0.6 of a second, which he built up, and he's really enjoying, because I thought Joel Lask at Andy Carroll at one point was just breaking away, maybe just inching it out of Elliot Dalton-Ayres and pulling away from Joel Lask. But a small mistake allows Joel Lask to try and go around the outside. Defensive line taken here through the hairpin for Andy Carroll. He fends off the championship leader for the time being. Brad Smith is nowhere near close enough to try and take advantage, but Elliot Dalton-Ayres takes advantage. Richard, he is gone.
Yeah, do you know what? That was textbook Anglesey stuff. You've got to have a pop around the outside, but if you can keep it in, then you've got the inside line for this corner, but that just didn't happen. And we're really being made to, Joel Lask is really being made to work here. Brad Smith might fancy a little nibble as well. And the dynamic of this trio will change as the third car in 4th place overall starts to get that little bit closer. Nicky Taylor is down behind them trying to, well, I was going to say trying to reel them in. He's pretty much there. Then Craig Curtis not that far back as well. But Dalton-Ayres, Jack, as you said, has got a really good, healthy lead, considering it's only, a couple of laps into this. Look at him getting away here and looking, I think, to be the first driver to make it 3 wins. And of course, as we go on board now with Joel Lask, he's got the run. Has he got the manoeuvre done here? He has. And I'll tell you what, that was utmost respect from Andy Carroll. Didn't want to clatter him. And that was a very, very good move. That was what we were looking for. So Carroll is down to 3rd place. Joel Lask up to 2nd. Elliot Dalton-Ayres looking to beat Andy Carroll to be the first man to get 3 wins in this series.
Yeah, I think Joel Lask was right on the back bumper of Andy Carroll. Carroll probably knew he was going to be beaten, but I did think he left the door open a little bit too much.
He did.
Is he going to leave the door open here again, going into the hairpin? No, he's shut this off a lap ago. He knows how to defend through here. Brad Smith has to try and go the long way round. He's later on the brakes. Is he going to try and get that cut back, trying to switch it up the inside of Andy Carroll? It's what he's going to try and do. I don't think he's going to manage it just yet. No, he's having to just concede that one for the time being. This is allowing Joel Lask to get free by the tune of about a second. So look at the gap now as Brad Smith lunges, and that's a big lunge, and I think a forceful manoeuvre, a crowbar of Andy Carroll out of the way there. I think Brad Smith would do well to let him have the position back, but he's not going to do that going through the first corner. Nicky Taylor's back, and he's going to have a go.
Do you know what? I haven't seen too many drivers attempt that lunge for real. So it was impressive to see as Nicky Taylor now looks around the outside. That's a great line in the wet, and Taylor's going to try and hold on to it here. Can't quite get through. He's got Craig Curtis right behind him as well, but it's Smith at the head of this train. Lask sets sail to try and close down on Elliot Dalton Ayres, but we're focused on this battle for fourth past the school circuit runoff. It's pretty much a 1 mile circuit they have for the racing school. If you want to do your hard school, so you can do it. But Smith looking up the inside now, and again, Andy Carroll loses out again, maybe a little bit generous there. And it's Smith in third place. Taylor gets it crossed up, so too does Craig Curtis, but they gather it all together. Really trying driving their socks off at the moment. Great racing so far.
I think that Nicky Taylor was sort of tempted to try and go and follow Brad Smith through, try and get in. Well, he didn't need to follow him through actually, sorry, to sort of take advantage of the fact that they were fighting. He maybe went for a tighter line. Craig Curtis maybe was eyeing up a move as well, and obviously a little bit of contact came about it. So luckily nobody actually ended up being the worst off. Craig Curtis was probably the driver behind. Maybe it was his fault looking at a little inside move on Nicky Taylor. He's ended up behind Paul Laramie. So Laramie's taken advantage of it. But look, Elliot Dalton Ayres is gone. He's off to mainland Wales, isn't he? He's crossing back over the bridge. He's absolutely flying here. And Joel Lask, although in second place and comfortably in second place, has not got the lap times to deal with it. Andy Carroll missing the apex there. Brad Smith hitting him and hitting it too hard. That's what I made Andy Carroll miss out on the race lead off the start of this one, and I think it's potentially going to cause Brad Smith a problem, because going through the next couple of corners, he's going to be offline.
Yeah, do you know what? I just was beginning to get the impression that Andy Carroll was rebuilding his momentum, and I think that little bump off the start over the curbs just unsettled him in those first couple of laps, but now his momentum's coming back. Remember, he's got the pace around here. He's the pole setter, and it looks like his confidence is building. Lovely line coming into the Rocket Complex. Plenty of momentum carried in there. He'll explore the outside, maybe go for the cutback as they head down towards Peel. He's actually on the wrong line to do that now, but you can see the thinking of the momentum, trying to sort it out now. Then through Peel, down towards the corkscrew they go again. Elliot Dalton Ayres is through. Joel Lask in second. This is great news for Joel Lask, remember. Lask dropping last weekend's round at Croft. He'll be determined, A, to beat Nicky Taylor today. I'm not going to say weekend again. To beat Nicky Taylor again today and just try and get that points gap over, or extended over the 4 points that he's got, as Brad Smith is engaged well. Laramie and Taylor side by side. Taylor with the run coming down into the final turn at the moment, so it's got the advantage, and indeed makes that stick, comes over to the far side to grab the racing line, but still under big pressure from Paul Laramie. Yeah,
Laramie there, he's really interested in Nicky Taylor's position, and why shouldn't he be? He's managed to take advantage of Craig Curtis being bumped sideways a little bit, and now he wants to try and take advantage of Nicky Taylor. And as I said, why wouldn't he? He wants to pick up as many points as he possibly can. I don't think he's in any sort of major championship thoughts as Paul Laramie. In fact, he's not on even the first top 10. Where is Paul Laramie? There he is, 14th position in the championship with 2 DNSs, unfortunately, to his name. The highest he scored is in the round 4. He scored 22 points. Well, he's on course. If he tries to get up to 5th position, he's on course to better that. And I think he seems quick enough, doesn't he, Richard?
He's looking very good at the moment. There's some really good battles going on all the way down the field, and you can see Brad Smith still is not leaving Andy Carroll. I'm contemplating, where did Brad Smith come from? He wasn't in the top 3 rows, I don't think. He wasn't. Was he on the 4th row? I didn't get as far as writing down the positions for qualifying there, but he certainly had a mega start, and Smith's still ahead of Carroll. So Smith at the moment holds that final podium place, and those guys have got just a little bit of breathing space at the minute over the other guys as the timing tower sorts itself out. Dalton Ayres from Lask in P2. 5 laps gone, 15 minutes 29 on the clock remaining of our first race of the evening.
Yeah, that's we're focusing on Paul Laramie there, who has ended up behind Craig Curtis. So he's gone from attacking Nicky Taylor to now behind Craig Curtis, so which is a bit of a shame for him. We didn't quite see what happened, I don't think, but you know, he might be able to get back through, might be able to reignite some kind of battle, but we've just gone from him getting potentially the best results of his season, but potentially it's slipping away slightly from him. But well, Andy Carroll has also seen a possibility slip away, hasn't he? He's gone from first all the way down into fourth behind Brad Smith, Joel Lask and Elliot Dalton-Ayres, and he can't seem to make that pole position pace count into racecraft, can he, Rich? He can't quite get back ahead. He can't make the moves as other people have made on him. You said that he's maybe charging up his momentum. He's trying to get back into that rhythm. He needs to do it fast because we've had 10 minutes of this race, 15 no.
Yeah, I think the win is pretty much a goner, isn't it, for him? But he does want to get back onto the podium. You can see him just exploring some of the lines, using a little bit more of the track here and there to get a wee bit more momentum, try and get closer to Brad Smith at an appropriate point on the track. Of course, it's one thing driving the track quickly in testing or practice and qualifying, but another matter completely when you get into racing. Do you have any simulated racing in practice in these as well, by the way, over the course of the
not
running tours?
really, no. Drivers can jump into the server and sort of go toe-to-toe with each other and do race simulations and everything like that. A bit like, I suppose, what you can do in real-life testing, but realistically, no, we don't put any actual races on or anything like that. But Andy Carroll looks like he's finally maybe thinking about actually going forward on Brad Smith here and trying to get that podium position back.
He is, yeah. He's got that momentum built now. Is he going to have a look here on turn one? He thinks about having a go at target, but he's just going to try and build it up. You can see he's got around about half a car's length as they go along the straight. He's going to go out wide here. I think quite doing for there. So it will take a wider sweep, maybe get the momentum to have an attack. Not here through Church Corner, but up the hill towards radar, which is the first part of the complex, as there was radar equipment based here in the Second World War, appropriately continuing the military themes you got. This, by the way, is the new part of the circuit. This one here, and Brad Smith makes a mistake here and loses out. I think Nicky Taylor is now going to come through as well. So Brad Smith back onto a potential podium. And how much more momentum has Nicky Taylor got over Brad Smith? Is he going to be able to do that? But yeah, now was that pressure from the new third place man, Andy Carroll, or a genuine mistake from Brad Smith, or a bit of both?
I think it was just a genuine mistake, actually. Andy had dropped off him slightly, and as they went into the rocket complex, which is a place that everybody will tell you is a really difficult braking zone, Smith just dropped it, and he's going to have to go defensive on Nicky Taylor now. Taylor, who was late on the brakes, but Smith has been later. Can he stop him for the apex? Just about. He'll survive this one. But yeah, that was a scary moment for Smith. He could have absolutely dropped like a stone, but he's managed to just about hold on to fourth place. He's got Nicky Taylor now for company, who's a lot more aggressive than Andy Carroll. He'll have to think about a lot more about where he places that bright green Mini.
Championship-wise, this is a 6-point gap extension here at the moment, the way things stand, for Elliot Dalton-Ayres over, Joel Lask over Nicky Taylor. Elliot Dalton-Ayres, the race leader, of course, a bit further down, not having done the first two rounds, but it's Taylor and Smith now, with Craig Curtis in the mix as well. So Taylor's got to have one eye behind him as well as having the attacking eye. Knowing Nicky like I do, he probably won't worry too much about what's going on behind. He's very much a driver in real-world mini racing who always looks forward, always on the attack, and he's been teasing us this week on social media about an upcoming announcement. I don't think he made an announcement today, but looking forward to seeing what his real-world racing plans are for this year, hopefully in the next couple of days.
I think the announcement was that he was racing at the VRRC around Anglesey. That should have been what his announcement was anyway, because he's in with the championship shout, and well, I'm sure he'll probably be in with the championship shout in real life as well. I was going to be really mean to Nicky Taylor there, but I won't be. I won't be so harsh. But yeah, it's always nice to see the drivers who are sort of jumping in to the virtual world, obviously having their real life career just sort of taking off, isn't it? We've got a lot of young drivers in here. We've also got a lot of the likes of the BMW drivers in and real life races here, there and everywhere. So it's really cool to see everybody sort of getting in, but then the season's starting to build up now for all those real life races, Richard. It's social media's flooded with announcements or heartbreak and all that sort of thing, isn't it, at the moment?
It is. You know, you can't keep up with it, or I can't keep up with everything. And I last week bought Autosport and found that to be a very good way of sort of catching up with the big stories. So there's still a place for print media for me in the world, as exciting as social media is. There is Josh Martin, 8th place at the moment, with Lee Piercy right behind him. So Josh trying hard. Piercy doesn't do himself any favours there by dropping back. So That will take the pressure off Martin, who's trying to close in on Paul Laramie now. Laramie was that little bit higher up, wasn't he, earlier on? See whether Martin can close down on him in his keen green machine. See whether he can get up into 7th place, which is where he qualified. So he'll be keen to do that. Anglesey, by the way, do you have any VRRC stuff at Pembrey, by the way? We haven't done any Pembrey because the 2 Welsh venues in the UK, I'm coming out with a totally useless stat which might come up in motorsports quizzes at some point. Both Welsh tracks in the UK don't have viewing on the main straight, opposite the main straight. You know, when you go to Brands, you can watch from the outside to the cars crossing the line. You can't do that here because obviously you've got the back straight in the distance and then the sea. So there's no viewing area overlooking the start-finish line. And the same at Pembrey as well. Useless
They
fact
wonder why they only have 25 people to watch.
Plenty of other really good viewing areas actually at both tracks, to be fair.
I was going to say, I'm sure. I don't know where Pembrey actually is. Obviously, we know that Anglesey is in North Wales, northwest on a little island. Is that where it is? Ah, well, now I know. Yeah.
Yes. I've just got to deal with my phlegm now. Excuse me.
I was going to say, where is that in relation to north, east, south, and west then in Wales?
South Wales, Gower, just past the Gower Peninsula.
Ah, fair enough. Yes, no, I'm more familiar with where you are now in the world, but I was going to say, because it's not that massive a country, is it? And I think it's only got 2 real kart circuits at note as well, which is Landau, which is obviously down south, and Glenigord, which is well up north.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 2 brilliant circuits. And once people actually decide to design the racetracks around the hills and the undulations and everything like that, like here at Anglesey, Brands Hatchments, and Oulton Park as well. That's a big lunge by Craig Curtis to take me off my little rant there. It's a great overtaking manoeuvre though, Richard.
That was a super one at the Primex car. Really went. That was move of the race perhaps so far today. Very, very good stuff from Craig Curtis and Nicky Taylor. 4 points down the Swanee for Nicky, isn't it? He's maybe this will be his drop round. I need to go away and have a look at how the points figure out for Nicky in the previous round, but you don't want those when you get into the last 3 events of any campaign. You don't want to be dropping any of them particularly. And you know, Nicky's a fighter. He'll want to get that position back. And you can see at the moment maybe just gathering his thoughts. He'll have a look at the car in front and just try and work out how he can rebuild his momentum and maybe replicate that pass to get back into P5.
Yeah, well, I have a look at his championship. The drop round that he has had was at round 3. And I'll be honest, my memory is not good enough to actually remember which round is which. But round 3... Sorry?
4th and 11th at Castle Combe.
Was it Castle Combe? Yeah. So 4th and 11th, it's not looking good for first race, is it? And of course, the reverse grid is going to be harder for him. That's 31 points he might have to carry over. Whereas Joel Laskin's worst position is 36 points that he's having to carry at the moment because he dropped 30 in the last round. It gets very complicated, Rich, doesn't it? If you're a viewer at home, there's no way you can possibly keep up with the drop scores, is it? So we'll just try and keep you up to date with all that's going on through the day, basically as the computer works out for us. I think that's probably the safest bet.
I think that's probably fair. I think we might have to rely on an abacus or a computer at the last round, unless we did for future competition. VRRC do a useful thing where you don't drop the last round. You have to go to the last round.
Oh, yes.
You're going to win the championship, which causes all sorts of bickering and moaning and whinging from people. But it's actually a good thing because you do want a little bit of a finale, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, Andy McEwen has been rallying for that for quite some time, and Rich has turned a rather stubborn deaf ear to it all this time, because it does cause a lot harder having to keep up with who's there and what they're doing what. But yeah, no, he's mentioned that a fair few times.
I will give him some stick of the weekend, some at Silverstone with him. But we are virtually at Anglesey, which is great. Elliot Dalton leading this one considerably, 4 seconds clear. Who'd have thought that after qualifying? Through goes Joel Last. Through goes Andy Carroll in 3rd place. Brad Smith still 4th. Craig Curtis is hunting him down now.
He is actually, isn't he? Yeah, it's only half a second in it, really. I don't think Brad Smith's really got the pace. He's found himself in some really nice positions, but every single time he gets into any position, he's got a car breathing down his exhaust pipe, hasn't he? So I don't really think he's sort of the fastest. I don't think he's a top 5 runner here today, but you know what? It doesn't really matter as long as you are in the top 5. That's all that really matters. You don't need to be fast. You just need to be in it. So Brad is doing a great job at picking up some nice points, and as we said at the beginning, he sort of needs them really, because he's not in a championship fight anymore in terms of first or second. But he is still holding that third place. He's 1 point ahead of Josh Martin. Well, Brad Smith is currently ahead of Josh Martin, quite significantly. Then he's got Andy Carroll. Okay, he's not ahead of him at the moment, but Tom Churchhouse, Elliot Dalton-Ayres, those sort of 4 drivers or 5 drivers, really, really close to each other. Tom Churchhouse is probably going to drop out of that after this round because he's in 14th place in race 1. I don't think it's to do with any damage or anything. I just don't think he's got the pace because his qualifying wasn't as good. So you can probably take him out of 6th place going into the next round. But Elliot Dalton-Ayres jumps up a fair few, like with loads of points, because he's going to get a race win here is the likelihood. And then that reverse grid, he tends to keep himself out of trouble. So he's going to jump up. So Brad Smith really needs to score points when he can. Yeah,
Elliot's in with a shout of getting into 3rd, isn't he, by the end of the campaign? If he carries on this kind of form, he can't afford to drop any. And cracking stuff going on here as we watch Lee Pearcey trying to close in, and is closing in on Josh Martin as they go down the old pit straight. Used to be a little booth that we used to commentate on there, but all you could see on the old circuit here was the main straight and the last corner. That's literally all you could see, so you had to sort of waffle for the other sort of minute and a half before you could see the cars.
I do find that very difficult. If you probably have done it 1,000 times at Oulton Park. You see the front straight, you see the main straight, and then you see nothing else. It's Heisman versus, is that Churchhouse? We were talking about
It is. So it's Churchhouse and Heisman having a good old ding-dong, and fair play to Rich Hayden for picking up on that. Dave Heisman in the 95 looking to come back on Tom Churchhouse, who, again, is very strongly placed in the championship. 6th position. Top score was back at Combe, 119 points. He's only actually 2 points behind Andy Carroll coming into this event, but he might find himself slipping a little bit further away at the moment. But keen racing going on right the way down the order. Ahead of them is Johnny Ogden. Ahead of Johnny is the Flying Teapot. He's in 11th place, Thomas Potter.
I think I saw on the chat actually that in the Discord actually that Tom Potter has had a bit of a laggy game, which is a bit unfortunate.
That's a shame.
He doesn't know quite how to fix it. He doesn't know whether it's internet issues or computer issues or anything like that. So, yeah, he's obviously doing quite well to just be just outside the top 10. He doesn't look like he's going to be in the top 10, but, you know, points are points. And apparently he's had force feedback issues on his steering wheel, which is also a bit of a pain because realistically, the steering wheel should be set up to exactly how you want it. And if he's only about 12 years old, then I'm probably, forgive me if I'm wrong here, Tommy Potter, but you've probably not got the strength of a full-grown man. So you don't want your force feedback to be dialed all the way to 100. No. That's going to be quite difficult.
Can you say, I was going to ask actually, Jack, can you say Potter in an Alan Rickman voice, a la Harry Potter?
Potter? That's about as good as I can.
I'm sure Tom doesn't want those. Apologies, Tom, for on that. But 11th place and driving his socks off as ever. We look at Lee Pearcey trying to close down on Josh Martin. These two, are they going to get close on 140 remaining on our first race of the evening here on Anglesey? And this is for 8th and 9th position. It is still Elliot Dalton-Ayres out front from Joel Lask, and Andy Carroll has got himself back onto the podium at the expense of Brad Smith, with Craig Curtis in 5th position. It's been a real eye-opener, this, but always a pleasure, whatever sort of racing you get on Anglesey. There is Brad Smith in the lime green machine, making his way out of turn 1 down towards the banked hairpin once again, with Curtis trying to close in on him. Curtis has, after that wonderful move, seen off Nicky Taylor. It'd be interesting to know what Nicky's issues are, if he has any. And Nicky, I think, maybe just settling for points at the moment and perhaps turning his attention to the reverse grid and thinking how he can feed his way through towards a better score. We know that Nicky is something of an overtaker, but then so are the other championship front runners as well. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, well, you can't get to the front of the championship with a full reverse grid every single week, can you, without being actually able to carve through them and avoid the traffic as well. So they'll all be fairly used to it, but it does look like Nicky Taylor is unable to sort of really find the pace. I would put a fair bit of money on, or at least the amount of money that Rich gives me each week to do this commentary, which, you know, it's a fair bit, Rich, let's say that. We do the fact that Nicky Taylor won't have installed the track until about half an hour. That'll be a reason for some of these drivers not performing quite as well, because every single week they come into the interview. Oh, I only jumped on half an hour. Who is that facing backwards?
Who's that parked up? I don't know, but
Teasman. We
Yeah.
saw him battling with Churchhouse about 3 laps ago.
that's a little bit of a shame, isn't it? But hasn't Andy Carroll got closer to Joel Lask? That's been interesting. Run out of time though, because time is gone. We're on the last lap, so Carroll and Lask closing up. You can see how Carroll's got away from Brad Smith, but here's our race leader, Elliot Dalton-Ayres, who has come through from 2nd position on the grid, comes down the old home straight. This is the last straight of our current lap now, and majestically sweeps through the final turn and will go towards our virtual checkered flag, does a little bit of a buzz and a wiggle. There he goes, takes the win. 2nd position is close, but Joel Lask will hang on to it from Andy Carroll. Brad Smith in 4th. Craig Curtis is still there in 5th position ahead of Nicky Taylor. And I tell you what, that was a good way to start our evening.
Yeah, no, good drive there by Elliot Dalton-Ayres. Obviously, the fight between the likes of Carroll, Smith, Lask, Nicky Taylor going a bit back and forth. Craig Curtis jumping up and down the order as well. Really nice to see that Anglesey is offering up some really good action, and it bodes well for race 2, which is a full reverse grid, of course. The likes of the top 10 have all been sorted out, so before we have a chat to our top 3, we'll have a quick look at our sponsors.
Big thank you to Evnia for their support of the CAMMUS JCW Mini Cup powered by Phoenix Racing. Our first podium of the day, and taking the virtual 3rd step on the podium. And we spoke to earlier on, eventually, hopefully he's here now, Andy Carroll. Well done on 3rd. Talk us through that opening corner, Andy.
Yeah, I didn't get the best start, and obviously the grid spots are right next to each other here, so I think Elliot always had the advantage of being able to sort of slingshot around the outside and have the inside for the next corner. Yeah, so I didn't get the best start, and then I slightly clipped the inside curve, which sort of made me go out wide a little bit. So yeah, at that point he was ahead, and off he went. And then yeah, Joel managed to get past me as well, and then Brad kind of made himself felt getting past me, so I got stuck a little bit behind him, and yeah, just that gap to Joel was a little bit too much to make up at the end. But yeah, I was catching him those last sort of 6 or 7 minutes, and just kind of ran out of laps. I could see he was really struggling with his tyres, I think. But yeah, just not quite enough laps to get back up.
It did look as, once Brad got past you, it looked like you'd collected your thoughts, got it all back together. And I was speculating with Jack that, was Brad's off? Was that a bit of pressure from yourself, or a mistake from himself, or a little bit of both? But you were closing on him, and you got back past him. And as you said, that momentum continued as you closed in on Joel. So is that momentum that you can carry into race 2?
I certainly hope so. Yeah, again, this is not really the track you want to be starting at the back from, I don't think. First sort of half of the lap up, when you go up the hill into that really tight section, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a few incidents going into there. So it's just hopefully weave my way through those, and then just try and get as far up the grid, keep it nice and clean, hopefully, and then see how far up the grid we can get for race 2.
Well, wish you well with that, and thanks for having the chat with us again. Good luck for that one. And
Thank you.
I'm going to hand over now to Jack, who's going to have a word with our second place driver.
Joel Last, congratulations on the second place. Bit of a return to form, I have to say, from yourself there. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. I mean, for some reason we're just a little bit quick around this track. I wasn't far off Elliot and Andy in terms of pace, but yeah, tyres just don't hold out with this sort of ballast. So yeah, trying to nurse it a little bit.
Well, the ballast was the thing I was going to really ask about, because of course last week at Croft it didn't quite go your way in terms of ultimate pace. You still picked up decent points, but the likes of Nicky Taylor was absolutely rapid. It seems to be slightly roles reversed here, which must be a bit of a relief.
Yeah, just a little bit. It was nice to see the qualifying positions, and then he can get caught up in a little battle behind. Just wanted to get past Andy really at the start, because I just had a little bit more pace. I didn't want to get held up too much. I mean, Andy's quick, don't get me wrong, but I think he was struggling on cold tyres a bit from the get-go, and I just wanted to tuck in behind Elliot.
Well, seeing as for Nicky, this may well end up being his drop round, it sort of takes the pressure off him. Does that add the pressure onto you, though, for this reverse grid?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I didn't have a great round from the rounds before. I think I only had 17 points, so I've got quite a low drop round anyway. But yeah, I think it's one of these ones where it's like no silly moves, just, you know, go with the flow and try and pick people off, because yeah, every point counts coming towards the end of the championship.
Well, I think actually your drop round is last week at Croft, where you only scored 30. So 30 is not a bad drop round to have, really, is it? So even if you only scored 20-something this time round, you still got Croft at the bank. But yeah, very interesting between you and Nicky Taylor at the moment. But good luck for race number 2. Well done on the second place. And you never know, we might be speaking to you afterwards.
Cheers, appreciate it.
Thanks, Jack. Well done, Joel. Let's talk to our race winner. Disappeared into the distance. Elliot Dalton-Ayres. Well done, another win. First man to win 3 in this season. Thoughts from you on the opening race?
I mean, yeah, honestly, it was really good. It was quite chilled, to be honest. Just kind of just sat by myself. I think Joel and Andy were 5-6 seconds behind. So yeah, just kind of like Joel said, the tyres go off quite a lot. I mean, both my fronts were yellow. So by the end, it was just nursing, try not to do anything too stupid to go off. But yeah, overall, a really good race.
Andy Carroll was saying that he felt the first corner was yours, the way that the cars are quite close together here on the grid, even though he's got the left-hand side as we look into that first corner, and you've got maybe a little bit of a chance for a sweep. But for me, that's one of the nice things about Anglesey. It does lend itself to some good, exciting starts.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was going to lead the first lap, just to obviously that mindset, just to get into that almost winner's mindset. But yeah, when I saw the grid positions, I think it's a little bit unfair on pole, because I think second is a better place to start. But yeah, I also set my car up for the beginning of the race, so I could really go after first. But obviously that happened in the first corner, and then we just kind of left them.
A lot of work to do in race 2. You know, you said that the first one was quite easy, but you've got some picking off to do now.
Yeah, I mean, like Andy said, you don't really want to be starting from the back around Anglesey. It's very narrow, and it's quite a risky track. So yeah, we'll see what unfolds.
In real life, how's the kart team coming together? Because I think last time we spoke, you were telling me about your kart team as the preps for this year coming along nicely.
Yeah, it's going fairly well so far. I mean, we are racing this weekend at Wardenlaw for the WLKC, I think it is. But yeah, we've got all team gear. I think we've got the kart graphics on the way. So yeah, it's going really well.
That's good. Wish you well with that one. Is it live streamed, by the way?
I'm not sure. I know the one that I was at last time was, but I think this is a different championship. So I'll have to look into it.
Too many championships now, aren't there? Everything's live streamed. You can literally spend all week watching the weekend. Anyway, wish you well with that, Elliot, and maybe we'll catch up with you on the podium for race 2. But congratulations on the win. Best of luck for race 2, and I hope to have a chat with you a little bit later on.
Yep. Cheers, Rich.
Elliot Dalton-Ayres, our race winner as we look forward now to race number 2. Now, if I've got it written down right with what's on the screen, on the timing screen, I have Stuart Henderson on pole with Kenny Press alongside Adam Lyle 3rd, Tom Churchhouse 4th, and Johnny Ogden and Tom Potter in 6th. So that's me reading off the timing screen, which I think is not. Ah, okay. So we've got John Jones on pole. So I shouldn't be taking it. I shouldn't be taking it from the timing screen. So John Jones, who's back with us from the Isle of Wight, which is where I was last week. Very pleasant week down there. And there is John on pole position. So we will see what he can do from there. Thoughts coming into this one, Jack Oliphant?
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult to say the least. We didn't have too much drama at the beginning of that race, or actually really throughout it at all. So we don't have any outliers saying, you know, people who qualified right in the front but then had a big incident, fell back, and now, of course, would be at the front of this order. So that's normally where you could probably guess where maybe a race winner is going to come from. You know, you sort of pick out a driver who's right near the front because they should have been in race 1. Chris Blakey was that driver last week at Croft, and he's quite high up again, but he doesn't seem to have the overall pace that he had last week. So it's going to be difficult, I think, to try and figure this one out. I'm hoping the likes of Tommy Potter, who is in 8th place, who we're just sort of semi-focusing on now, if his computer fixes itself, then it would be quite nice, because starting a race right in the middle of the pack, or even towards the front end of the sort of pack, with a laggy screen, not knowing where everybody's going to be around you, that can be really difficult. So hopefully he's got that sorted out in the brief intermission that we've had, the 10 minutes in between races. But I'd like to see Josh Martin push through a little bit, but I think ultimately we're going to see Nicky Taylor come through. I said to Joel that the pressure's off Nicky Taylor a little bit, because he's already scoring not the best in this round. So race 2 is a bit of a free hit for him. We could see him just charge through the order to the best of his ability.
We could well see that, couldn't we? As we're having a little virtual look through our grid, there is Paul Laramie, had a good race in race 1. Nicky Taylor, a bit further. Very unusual not to have a chat with Nicky at some point. There's Craig Curtis, ready for his one. Up into the top levels, we see Brad Smith. There is Andy Carroll's car, 76. Elliot Dalton-Ayres in the 71, and Joel Lask in the number 8. Then we've got Sam Walton in number 6, who will line up in P2 on the grid. Tom Churchhouse is next up. He lines up, I think, 6 on the grid for this one. And another exciting race in prospect. Now, what I haven't done is exactly what I did last time that I was with you guys a couple of rounds ago. Where were we? It was Oulton Park, wasn't it? And worked out the points. So that's maybe something that we'll do as we go along. But there are the black and red stripes of 639 John Jones, who starts on pole position. So red and black of John Jones, and Sam Walton in black next to him as we look at it, the left of shot. And ready for our second race of the day. This is the one where you start to worry, actually, not only about the first corner, but that run up the hill and into the very tight bottleneck that is the radar complex. That's where I think we might get some issues here. Lights are on, though. Very little build up left. Is it going to be a long wait as we had in race number 1 once all the lights are lit? 4 on, 5 on. And away we go. So it is John Jones and Sam Walton off the front. Great start by Walton, who gets away very well indeed. So Jones, rather, who gets away very well indeed. So it's Jones from Sam Walton. Henderson in 3rd position. Tom Churchhouse in the mix as well. But John Jones going for a little bit of drifting there. We've got a VRRC drifting championship yet.
Well, Kenny Press is assisting in it, that's for sure. Anyway, he just taps him on the rear. Luckily, front-wheel drive just means you keep your foot down, don't you, and just keep going. So it looks like Henderson's taking that first place away from John Jones. We know John Jones is going to take that line down. Here comes Tom Churchhouse as well, followed by Josh Martin. I said it's a bit of a free hit for him in 11th place. What's he going to do going into the rocket complex? Well, somebody's going to rocket up the inside and spin everybody round. I'm not entirely sure who that was, but Lee Pearson, we've got drivers in the air, we've got cars up and down, almost on their roof. In fact, they are on their roof. That was Josh Martin, who was doing so well, just got tagged right at the front, ends up upside down, which is never nice to see, is it? It's left John Jones out in the race lead with Tom Churchhouse just behind. Then Nicky Taylor, I said it's a free hit for him, fresh up.
Yep.
He's somehow avoided all of that, Richard.
Yeah, sometimes you just need the brakes, don't you, like that to come through. So well done, Nicky. And yeah, I said I was worried about that particular corner, that bottleneck on the reverse grid, and sadly that came to pass. So it's Jones from Churchhouse now. These two having a good old ding-dong coming down towards the end of lap number 1. Downhill on this wonderful gradient that you get here. And it is Jones that is still there. Churchhouse is going to try and tee up the inside. Hasn't got the momentum out of the final corner. What he has got, though, is mirrors full of yellow, red and black. And that's Nicky Taylor coming up to challenge. He's going to look up the inside. His Churchhouse and tags the leader onto the grass. And Nicky Taylor threads his way through into the lead as the 88 car comes to a halt on the grass.
Yeah, it's a shame because there's lots of good battles that look like they're brewing and then all of a sudden just get extinguished with contact, don't they? People squeezing too much or trying to find a space where there's not really any. It's very difficult out there, don't get me wrong. But Nicky Taylor inherits the race lead. Are we going to see him be caught? I don't see anybody within... Ooh, Elliot Dalton-Ayres from 4th right now. 3 seconds behind Nicky Taylor. I think... Ooh, 22 minutes to go, Richard. Elliot Dalton-Ayres. That's where my wages are going.
Joe Lasker's got a red indicator on him and drops to 16th. What was that?
He is currently... I can see him on the track map. He is... just got back on the circuit and pretty much dead last position. Well, he is dead last. So he got back on, but he's got an absolute ton of work to do. It's 2 seconds off Johnny Ogden. That's not necessarily the problem. The problem is the fact that he's 5 seconds off Walton and then 1.5 seconds off Jones. So again, it's got about 10 seconds to catch the pack. And that's just to get himself up to about 13 points.
Now, earlier on, we were both talking about Nicky Taylor having this as his dropped round. He was 6th in race number 1. He's currently leading this one. He's actually going to come out better than last week's 3rd place man, Andy Carroll, isn't he? At Croft, you just never know how these races are going to go and how the points are going to finish up.
Oh, I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it, really? The only sort of fear he might have is obviously a charging Elliot Dalton-Ayres, or if Brad Smith finds some pace from somewhere. Again, Brad Smith, I mean, we were saying about, in fact, I said that he didn't have top 5 pace, but all he needs to do is finish inside the top 5. That's exactly what he's doing. He's inside the top 5, and realistically, I don't think Heisman's going to catch him. Craig Curtis might do, but no, actually, he's not, because he's got about 5.5 seconds. So, yeah, Brad Smith is doing everything he needs to do to try and cement that 3rd place. Fair play to him. Andy Carroll, pole position in race number 1, didn't go his way off the starting line. We heard from him earlier, but he's stuck in 11th place as well. Probably got caught up in that incident. A lot of drivers did not have an enjoyable first lap.
No, for sure. And there's going to be a huge amount of officiating and adjudication going on over that first lap. And it sounds like next Monday might be fun in terms of having a look at that as Carroll tries to get up into 10th position. So Taylor, the leader, Brad Smith 2nd. Blakey is next up from Dalton-Ayres and Heisman, who just drops down now courtesy, momentarily, of Craig Curtis. But Heisman re-establishes himself in 5th place as... coming up towards us here, Heisman in that 95, ahead of Craig Curtis. So Heisman betting his way in with us. I don't know if he was out with, you were talking about the 750s, a lot of BMW drivers with the 750s. They were out, I think, for a press day or test day at the weekend prior to their season. I'm not sure if he was out there. I didn't get to see any of the times, but coming under pressure and very close indeed. And you can see that was... I don't know if that was perfect or not. I guess we'd have to watch it again to see. But good close racing between the two of them. And no punting, no rubbing, and no dishevelling of the car in front, even to get it offline. Good stuff from these guys.
Yeah, no, it's sort of what you want to see more than anything, isn't it? And Curtis had a little look. He wasn't 100% on, but he kept the car there. He was fully alongside. It was absolutely legal for him to be there. And Heisman just gave him enough room while also still taking the tightest line that he could. Really nice racing, but I think that it looks like Craig Curtis is going to have the outside line going into the rocket complex. Can Heisman then control the inside and get the apex and force Curtis out wide? I think he's going to manage to do that. That's what Andy Carroll couldn't do in the first race, and he got sent a little bit wide as Tom Churchhouse. Yeah, it is Tom Churchhouse, isn't it? Who was once upon a time battling for the race lead, is now involved with the top 5 battle again. But he's been doing what Carroll couldn't in race 1, and that is forcing someone to the outside rather than allowing them to get to the inside. And this battle doesn't look overly done just yet. I've just seen in the YouTube chat as well that apparently Josh Martin is watching from the Marshall post. Hopefully he's put his car and put the handbrake on so it doesn't drift onto the track. He now knows where that is, so he should do.
Oh, and Heisman just runs a little bit wide. That causes a little bit of a domino effect behind. And away goes Craig Curtis. Oh dear, that had racing instant written all over it for me. All that for 5th position. Heisman still there, and was not blocking or anything like that. It was just a little bit of dominoes to me. Taylor's still away out front. Smith, Blakey, Dalton there's 4th. Heisman there. Is that a duck egg blue? Can we call that in 5th position? Stu Henderson is following him now, as we see John Jones, who was one of our early race leaders, down in 10th position, and then following him is Sam Walton. So a good battle developing between this pairing at the moment. And the Automat car is going to have a look down the inside here as the Isle of Wight driver has a look. First on the inside, then on the outside goes the chaser. So super battle going on between these two for 10th place and some valuable points. Taylor is 1.5 seconds clear, and it's all going pear-shaped further back as well.
Yeah, they just continue to hit each other, unfortunately, don't they? And it's going to be, you said that it's going to be entertaining Monday night. I think it's going to be a few stressful nights until that, though. I mean, this had the hallmarks of being a really good race, really close, lots of stories throughout it, and it's just been slightly ruined, hasn't it, by people trying to defend a little bit too harshly, maybe trying to lunge a little bit too far back. It's maybe a racing incident here or there as well, but a lot of avoidable contact, shall we say, including that one, which sees Lee Piercy get spat out onto the right-hand side after they were trying to try and go 3 wide. Maybe doesn't always need to be done. There is John Jones, who just about gets the apex. So I was going to make a joke that he said he was the Isle of Wight driver earlier on. Well, it looked like he was closer to the Isle of Wight than he was the apex, and I think that means he's going to potentially lose a couple of corners and a couple of places as well. There he goes, very, very wide again. And Walton goes through, Carroll goes through. Wouldn't be surprised if Ogden and Lask going through as well.
I just say this makes John Jones an overner, which is the derogatory term that the Isle of Wight people give to visitors. So he's an overner. I think we're allowed to use that. You know, have these derogatory. Well, I probably wouldn't be able to use it on ITV, but. Yeah.
But luckily, we're on the internet here, Richard. You can say what you want.
Well, you can. I think live stuff is still, and it's not that bad, that particular one. It's not as bad as other ones that you could use. But yeah, always interested in meanings and things like that. As we watch Andy Carroll now into 10th place, trying to get some points. Thomas Potter is up into 6th at the expense of all of the shenanigans that have gone on. And I think some of it is, and another roly-poly very nearly there. Andy Carroll coming through that. I was going to say that some of it, I think, is maybe due to a little bit of racing inexperience of the track, you know. And to be fair, everybody knows Donington Park, everybody knows Silverstone, everybody knows Oulton Park, and probably Croft, and to a certain extent Combe as well. But Anglesey is a different kettle of fish for all the drivers, so I think that some of it can be excused. I'm the good cop to maybe Jack's bad cop, as he's saying that. Some of it is a little bit naughty, and it is disappointing to see some of the contact we've had. But you know, when you have a first visit, that sort of thing is going to happen.
Yeah, you're right. It's a bit of an experience on the track, but I just feel like we've done an entire race where everybody sort of followed each other quite closely and had little battles, and we should have an idea now. Done enough practice laps of where the best overtaking opportunities might occur. But then I realised that it's a reverse good, and everybody gets a little bit excited. Don't get me wrong, it's quite exciting from a neutral perspective, but what we want to see is the sort of lunges like that from Joel Lask over Stuart Henderson. Yeah, really nice and late, decisive, but also clean as you like as well. So Joel Lask making up one more move. Andy Carroll now just behind Stuart Henderson. This looks like a battle from race 1 with Brad Smith, but Stuart Henderson in the same looking car. Obviously, a completely different driver. And then you got Craig Curtis just behind as well, who's obviously recovering slightly. Looks like he might be at the inside on Andy Carroll, who's left that door slightly open again. Curtis is still there. Carroll goes far too deep. Henderson gets overtaken by both of them, would you believe, through all that. And Andy Carroll holds on to it.
Andy Carroll going through there. I'll tell you what, points-wise, Joel Lasker, now he's in 8th place. He's 7 seconds adrift of Tom Churchhouse. So Lasker's in 8th position, which basically means 10 points. Nicky Taylor here is going to take 25. So potentially, depending on fastest laps, Taylor here, I think, could emerge with the championship lead. Because remember, it was, I think I said it was a 10-point gap in race number 1. And at the moment, it's a 15-point reversal the other way. And he was only 4 points behind coming into this event. So it's going to depend on fastest laps from race 1 and 2. But at the moment, Nicky Taylor could be, and I emphasise could, be poised to take the championship lead.
So I'm glad you're here, Richard, because there's no way I would have bothered to work all that out as quickly as that. I would have waited for 13 minutes and let the computer do it and then to bring it up in the interviews. But you're right. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? We've been saying about how Nicky Taylor could be struggling in this round because he didn't have the pace and all that sort of thing. But a similar story to Brad Smith. You just need to be at the right place at the right time. Nicky Taylor was exactly that. I don't know how he got through the crashing at the beginning of the rocket complex on the first lap. I don't know how anybody did, to be honest, but he did, and he's into the position he deserves to be in. Now, we've got 12.5 minutes left. Now, I said my week's wages were potentially on Elliot Dalton-Ayres to take 2 race victories here. He has caught up significantly. He's got himself into 3rd place. He's got 0.7 of a second to Brad Smith, who we know is not easy to overtake. But let's say he does that in the next 2 or 3 laps, which is fairly, I don't think, overly ambitious for Elliot Dalton-Ayres with the pace that he has compared to Smith. He then has about 1.5 seconds, maybe it ekes up to 2 seconds to catch Taylor. I think there's a chance in the last 2 or 3 minutes of this race that we see a race lead change here, and we see a potential battle at least.
Jack Oliphant, great shout, mate. I think that is absolutely spot on. Could well happen, couldn't it? He is closing in, Elliot Dalton-Ayres, and championship-wise, just got nothing to lose. Sure, he wants to get into the top 3, and he could probably do that by the end of the season. But for him coming in after the first 2 rounds were complete, it's all about having race and race and race. And you can see him having not a lunge there, but really committed going into that corner. You could see just how keen he was to close up. It's actually not done him any favours, because that late entry into the banking has just dropped him back a little bit from Brad Smith in 2nd position. Smith's still trying to close up on Nicky Taylor out front, so those 3 clear. Blakey's still there in 4th position, Chris Blakey, and then it's Dave Heisman in 5th, who's holding a good position, as is Tom Potter still in 6th place. So Potter ahead of Churchhouse and Lask. The gap between Churchhouse and Lask has come down from 7 seconds when we were looking earlier on to 6.6 or thereabouts. So good close to them as we pick up on Carroll chasing Lask, with Craig Curtis down behind him as well. Up the hill into Radar, down into Rocket, and then again very slightly downhill before they exit what on any other circuit again looks like another hairpin before they climb uphill in towards the Peel corner. I don't know whether Jack Oliphant's old enough to remember John Peel, were you?
No, I'll be honest, when you brought out that reference, I thought I would just nod along. But,
Nod sagely, always a good
thing. It went over my... It's a bit like when I joined the conversation in the commentary box with you and Rich talking, it just sort of all went over my head a little bit.
Yeah. But no, a legendary DJ was John Peel, and hopefully we've got some viewers who remember him fondly. And I had a great chat with him one time when he was in a TVR at Snetterton. But sadly no longer with us as we watch Carroll and Lask trying to get closer, or Lask is trying to get away from Carroll at the moment as he fires his way into target once again. 8th and 9th position. Carroll's steadily making progress. It'll be interesting to see whether he can get past Joel Lask after his excellent qualifying run, Andy Carroll. He knows he's got the pace around here. I haven't put the practice in. What's the gap 1 to 2? 1.1, just over a second between Nicky Taylor and Brad Smith. And Elliot Dalton-Ayres hasn't been able to claw that gap in as much as I thought he probably would. And it was that little lunge, wasn't it, into the hairpin that, not the hairpin, the banking that just cost him a little bit of time, and he's not been able to get that back at the moment over Brad Smith.
Yeah, well, just before he did that lunge, as we were singing his plaudits, he actually put in a purple sector 1 and 3. He set his fastest lap of the race on the lap where we were bigging him up, and it was a 35.9, a 1 minute 35.9 for anybody out there who wants to be pedantic, but a 35.9, which was 2/10 quicker than Brad Smith's fastest time, and at the point of where he set the lap, it was about 4/10 quicker than Nicky Taylor. Now, you say he hasn't really etched in on Brad Smith, but Brad Smith has etched in on Nicky Taylor. They've actually gained on the race lead by about half a second. So although he hasn't progressed up the podium, he has actually gotten a lot closer to the overall race lead. That's not a bad place for Elliot Dalton-Ayres to be, because if Brad Smith goes for a little lunge on Nicky Taylor, he has an opportunity to take two birds with one stone.
Yeah, the danger here, I suppose, for Elliot Dalton-Ayres is that this becomes a battle and that he can't get past very quickly, because as soon as they start battling, they'll just drop away a little bit from Nicky Taylor, who's I think maybe edged out half a tenth on the last tour. So this is the top three. What could Dalton-Ayres do? Has now very definitely closed up, but you're right, the top three are closed up as well. Good stuff from Chris Blakey in 4th position. This would be, I think, Chris's second best finish of the season, having won race 2 at Croft last time out. He's not too far away from the top 3 runners that we've got here. Still 7 minutes on the clock. It is all still to play for here, isn't it, as the top trio go through. And as you mentioned as well, with Elliot at the moment with the fastest lap of this one, we'll grab the points for that. I think it's 3 points for fastest lap. I didn't clock who got fastest lap on race number 1, but that's going to be good for Nicky Taylor that it's not Joel Lass taking the points, as we get a side-by-side here. Potter and Churchhouse having a good battle.
Yeah, Churchhouse trying to avoid being overtaken by Potter, I think, and Potter just about managed to slide himself up the inside of the hairpin, which is a move we haven't actually seen that much over the course of this evening, because everybody's managed to just about defend it off, but and force the people around the long way around the outside. However he did it, Potter was on the inside, so he breaks into the top 5. I know there's always a lot of people in the YouTube chat supporting Potter, and well, I think they'll have enjoyed that one. As you see Churchhouse flying off the circuit, that'll actually make them cry out with joy, I'm sure, because it means that Potter has a little bit of a gap now. He has a big way to catch up Chris Blakey. That's not going to happen. But it's still a good top 5 position, as we see Elliot Dalton-Ayres now within 0.3 of a second. Remember, the gap between Smith and Taylor was about a second. That's what it is currently as well. Maybe 1.1 if you really want to be pedantic. If these two start battling on your screen, we could see Taylor's gap extend to nearly 2 seconds again. That's the danger that Elliot Dalton-Ayres has, that Richard was talking about earlier. Can Elliot Dalton-Ayres get past Smith without losing the time to Taylor? At the moment, they've actually gained a tenth on him.
I'm going to apologise for Thomas Potter for not doing a big shouty moment when he got that position. I know he likes using the little bits of commentary on his social media. So, Thomas, if you've got a little bit of audio editing, I'm going to do it for you now. He's Potter through into ahead of Tom Churchhouse. What a move! There you go. So you can cut and paste that. Use that on your social media. Sorry about that.
I think everybody's going to cut and paste that, Rich. I don't know why we're not that enthusiastic more often, to be honest. But yeah, no, it's I'm going to have to look at Churchhouse's socials. Then, does he put a lot of the?
He does put bits and bobs on. Yeah, he's always worth a look. Always worth a look.
I'm actually going. I'll tell you what. I'm going to have a quick glance now to try. Well, put a reminder on my phone. Put it that way, to have a quick glance at it, because I always think we could do with some highlights of these things, because the racing is absolutely awesome, but no one's going to sit down and watch a 2-hour stream back, are they? Whereas we could love to see a lot of these sort of overtakes that we're going on, the stories throughout the season and everything like that, and it's great to see Thomas Potter actually putting that in place on his own socials. Hopefully more drivers start to do that.
Yeah, for sure, and he's up into 5th, so it's potentially a best of the season so far. Top 3 are getting closer now, so it's a 3-way battle here on the reverse grid race, and Nicky Taylor has not lost his chasers. Brad Smith still there in P2. There is Taylor in the red and yellow car, Smith in yellow and green and black, and of course we've got the chasing blue and white car of Elliot Dalton-Ayres, who's been closing in on Brad Smith, but at the moment can't quite get close enough to make a move. Are we going to see Smith challenge for the lead before we see Dalton-Ayres challenge for second position? The complexion of this
has all changed over the last 3 or 4 minutes. And there they are, all 3 of our current podium runners in shot together. Exactly what we want to see as they run down the old home straight. Again, lovely bit of gradient. Here's the mirror side of the Tom Price straight, downhill into the first of 2 left corners. Nicky Taylor ran a little bit wide there, still close between them. 4 minutes to go, and Brad Smith is closing up. He is sensing, slightly wider there was Brad Smith. He is sensing perhaps that a challenge for the lead might be on soon. But look at Dalton Ayres taking the wider line in. He's got no pressure from behind as well, the third place man. And this is building up rather nicely between these 3. Nicky Taylor will probably, or could probably, do without seeing the green and blue in his mirrors, and as ever will soak up the pressure. He's very well used to that, but one wonders whether Brad Smith here has got the pace to continue to close up and have a pop. I don't think close enough to do anything at the moment as they close uphill, but having said that, takes a tighter line, maybe a little bit defensive from Elliot Dalton Ayres as they come into the complex. Elliot's all over him, slightly wider line here, maybe trying to garner a little bit of momentum to have a challenge into Peel, which is probably too short a run into Peel to have a go there. So he might want to just drop back, build a little bit of momentum through the corkscrew corner and then up the Tom Price straight. But it's a battle on for lead position. Brad Smith very definitely having a look at each side of Taylor's car to see if he can take a move and have a go for the lead.
He's trying to fill the mirrors, just like Dalton Ayres is looking up the inside of the hairpin. I think that's to put Brad Smith off. I think he just about managed to do it. He managed to snatch the brake, grab the hairpin apex, and Smith lives to fight another day. But he's got Dalton Ayres all over his backside now. Nicky Taylor going down, taking the racing line. He's going so defensive, he almost looked like he was going into the pits. Brad Smith diving, he's late, he's missed the apex completely, and Dalton Ayres has sent him wide. No contact whatsoever. The psychological race move wins again. Dalton Ayres is into second.
Yeah, lovely move, swept through. And, well, we didn't quite see that one coming. Brad Smith's going to try and fight back, and Dalton Ayres has a look for the lead. Nicky Taylor is under big pressure now. So Elliot Dalton Ayres, who's no threat to him, I don't think in terms of the overall championship. He's a way back, but it's all about race wins and maybe getting up into the podium prizes in our CAMMUS JCW Mini Cup powered by Phoenix Racing. Let's see whether he can make a move now. He's certainly close enough to pile the pressure on. They've gone through Church. They're making the climb up towards the complex now. Dalton Ayres is going for the wide line here. This is about momentum going into and out of the complex. He's all over the back of the race leader, but Brad Smith in green is coming back to play as well. Remember, this short straight, maybe not long enough to get a lunge on the inside. That's what we see again, with Taylor holding on to the lead. Smith is back in the mix as well. A little bit of traffic ahead, one car ahead for the race leaders to potentially have to worry about over the next couple of tours. But there's only 1:11 left on the clock. Three-way battle for the lead. And here comes they pass the back-marking car very safely indeed. And here comes Brad Smith on the outside again.
Yeah, it's just thrilling stuff. I have to say the top 5 battle is equally exciting, but we can't focus on that because as we go down into the last minute, they're not going into the pits, ladies and gentlemen. They're actually trying to defend from each other. Brad Smith going around the outside. Maybe he's going to try and go for that outside line, carry the momentum and overtake them all. Well, he looked like he had the opportunity on Elliot Dalton Ayres, but Nicky Taylor managed to hold them up. Nicky just as good at defending as he is going forward and being the aggressor. Dalton Ayres trying to keep Brad Smith out of control. Brad Smith is out of control. Gets back on the circuit, pushes Nicky Taylor a little bit, but ultimately he's got the move on Dalton Ayres, who gives him a little love tap on that right hand inside, and he just about holds on to it. Brad Smith after going really wide on turn 1. I feared he wouldn't make the corner as they come back on, but Nicky Taylor has pulled out a 7/10 lead just because of that one corner of battling.
Yeah, that squabble, that's exactly what we said could happen, isn't it? And they're still side by side, so the battle here is for P2 at the moment. Smith's got the inside line into the complex. Dalton Ayres will try and hang on the outside. They're going to squeeze each other. They actually give each other room. Both cars still on the tarmac, and Dalton Ayres holds his ground, gets back into P2, but it's too late because Nicky Taylor is firing himself away from the squabbling pair for second place. Brad Smith still wants P2. He's hanging on the outside line, but he's got the inside as they come on the run up towards the Tom Price straight. Here they come onto the back straight, if we want to call it that, for the last time. It's Brad Smith in P2, but Nicky Taylor is away and is going to have a very impressive points all here as Dalton Ayres gets his nose in front, but has got to work the outside line as they come onto the penultimate corner.
Yeah, he's going to get the cut back though, and that's a massive opportunity, a bit of hip and shoulder. It's going to be Nicky Taylor who takes the race victory, but I think Elliot Dalton-Ayres, right at the death, will take second place unless Brad Smith can go for the lunge. I wouldn't put it past him, Richard, and here he goes actually into the final corner. The lunge is on. Dalton-Ayres gives him the room. He misses the apex, and it's going to be a drag race. Nicky Taylor takes the victory. Dalton-Ayres takes second place with Brad Smith in third. Chris Blakey was a lot closer than he was probably expecting in fourth place, while Tom Churchhouse finally takes the top 5. He's not quite over the line yet, but he seems to be in a bit of no man's land as Thomas Potter has fallen down the order.
What an incredible race we saw there. That was a brilliant last couple of laps, and all the shenanigans we had earlier on certainly made that all worthwhile as we see the rest of the runners making their way through. And yeah, super stuff from CAMMUS JCW Mini Cup powered by Phoenix Racing runners, and Nicky Taylor grabs another win. We've not seen Nicky. Is that his first win of the campaign? We had Lass, Carl Felvis, John Higgins, Nathan Smith. It is incredibly Nicky Taylor's first win of the campaign.
Yeah, that's unexpected. He's normally winning a lot more than that, but showing that consistency is key. We'll have a chat to Nicky Taylor, Dalton-Ayres and Brad Smith about all that's just happened right after this quick advert break.
So let's get on with podium presentations, and we're switching things around again. So over to Jack to do our third place driver.
Yeah, oh my days, that means I have to actually remember which way round they came. I think it was Brad Smith in third place. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, but it looked like at one point you could have finished anywhere on the podium, to be honest. So, yeah, talk to it from your perspective, those last 3 laps.
I can't remember how Rich describes it. I think it's hip and shoulder. There was a lot of that going on, but yeah. So we'll see. They were both quicker than me. I don't know how I was keeping up with them. To be fair, it was just a case of just go for it.
Well,
near the end of the championship.
We sort of questioned that a little bit in the first race, actually, Brad, as well, a little bit, and saying that it didn't really look like you had top 5 pace in terms of on the road. But it's more important that you just come in the top 5, let alone the pace. So you must be pleased with your track position in the end.
Yeah, mega pleased. With the practice, official practice and the qualifying, I just couldn't hook a lap up. I was just nowhere near. I'd actually got a 36 flat in the unofficial practice, so I knew I had more pace in me, but tonight I just couldn't get it together.
You've had a bit of an inconsistent run of late, haven't you? Sort of, the season started off very strong, 44 points in round 1, then 26, 25, 17. You picked it up a little bit at Croft, and you seem to have picked it up here again. Is that down to a little bit more practice, or the track starting to come to you a little bit more now?
It's just staying out the way of all the accidents. I seem to have, towards the middle of the championship, got myself in every accident possible by the feel of it, but hopefully next week will go the same as this week.
Well, you might be sort of a little bit far out from the championship in terms of Joel Lask and Nicky Taylor, but that third place, you're still well within touching distance of it. And in fact, actually, you probably solidified your position in it actually today. Is that sort of what you're gunning for now? Is the motivation still there, even if you think maybe Joel and Nicky are a little bit too far gone?
Yep, definitely. I was hoping that Nicky was going to get caught up. It sounds bad, but you do it in racing. But he didn't. He made it through. So because I really wanted second, but third. If I can get third, I'll be happy with third.
Well, I think third place, you're racing for the gear shifter, aren't you? The Mecha gear shifter, which, to be fair,
Yes.
is a mega bit of kit. We use it on the simulators whenever we go to any of these sort of running the simulator days sort of thing, and a mega bit of kit. So I'm sure you'll enjoy it, that one, if you manage to get there, of course, because it's very,
Yep.
very tight in the table. Brad, congratulations on what is a very strong night of racing for yourself. Because you didn't quite have the overall pace, yet you were very consistent. You weren't dirty as far as we could see. And you did that well to score that many points in track position and everything like that. And racecraft was brilliant. We're going to give you the driver of the round. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well done, Brad. Yeah, many congratulations on that. And we were unanimous in that one. So super effort. And talking of effort, there was loads, wasn't there, in our podium, and that continues. The bad news for Elliot Dalton Ayres is that he gets to talk to me twice, 2 races on the bounce. We swap it over. Elliot, sorry, it's me again, mate, but difficult race. Plenty for you to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw on stream, there was 2 big incidents which I got caught up in, and my bumper was red by the end of it, so it was incredibly understeery. But yeah, I think I did well to catch up with Nicky and Brad, and I saw that me and Brad were actually catching Nicky, and that maybe a double win could have been possible, but me and Brad just decided to have a little scrap, and that allowed Nicky to get away. But yeah, overall, it's been a really good night.
It was fantastic. You know, Jack picked up on the fact that you were making it after all the incidents were making your way through, and suddenly said, "Do you know what? We might have a double win here." So we had this wonderful narrative of you closing up on Brad, the top 3 of you closing up. But ultimately, also we said that if you and Brad started squabbling, that was going to allow Nicky to get away, and it's a classic racing thing, and that happened, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, me and Brad decided to have a little battle, and then Nicky, I think he gained like 2 seconds on us by the end of it. But no, it was a really entertaining race that time, unlike race 1.
I think it might get you up into. We were trying to do some fairly elementary maths, which you won't know a lot about, as you're not really concentrating on your GCSEs. We've had that conversation before. I think that might get you up into 6th or 5th place in the championship now.
I think I'm 3rd. So I've just had to look.
He's up into 3rd. Wow! Oh, that's even better.
Thank you.
So looking to maintain that. Obviously, some great prizes in this championship, and that's got to be a big bonus for you, isn't it? Coming in late.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't really care about the prizes. I just want the trophies to put on my whatever you call it, the thing that has the trophies. And but I guess the prize is an added bonus.
Does that mean your new name is Pot Hunter?
No.
No, not quite. Anything to take away from? Is that the first time on Anglesey? Anything to take away from this evening's racing?
Never raced at Anglesey before. Never even heard of it until
Wow.
Until obviously this championship. I thought it was an Italian track for some reason, but no,
could not be further from the truth.
But no.
It's a great play. Go and get yourself a track day there, or do your odds. Whereabouts are you based, by? I'm not sure where everybody lives.
Wynyard, so County Durham.
Oh, okay. So not that difficult. You're probably going to do Croft, aren't you, for odds?
Yep, well, I love Croft.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, Anglesey's worth a trip out. Anyway, Elliot, many congratulations, and I'll have to go back to doing my homework on the math, won't I? I'm not quite sure whether they do the points out, but well done, and we'll see you next week for Thruxton.
Yeah, cheers, Jack. Cheers, Rich.
Over to Jack.
Right, yes, so we've got one last podium to do, and that is, of course, our race winner, Nicky Taylor. And if Richard is correct, that is your first race win of the season, Nicky. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's the first one on road. Obviously, I got gifted one at Silverstone from other circumstances, but that felt horrendous. I don't know what it is, but I did not click at Anglesey tonight at all. In practice earlier, something clicked. I got 35s, and I was one of the quicker ones. And then, as official practice and as qualifying come on, was just miles off pace. Could not tell you why, because I didn't change anything on my setup compared to that practice. But yeah, just weird. I had no pace whatsoever, which is why I think Brad and Elliot caught, because not gonna lie, any other time when I'm 2 seconds, 1 or 2 seconds in the lead, I back myself to keep that gap to the end and keep pushing, especially when them two look to be battling. But yeah, I just didn't have the pace, and then just had to defend for my life against them two, because I know Brad will send wherever, and I know Elliot. Just happy, but also not that much, because that puts me first in championship, which also gives me more weight now. So and going into Thruxton where weight is worth a lot. So not brilliant, but yeah, not too bad.
I was going to say this, to be honest, because you know, I almost just reversing the questions that I had for Joel Lask after the first race, really, where I was sort of saying, well, you must be fairly relieved that yeah, you've got the pace back on Nicky, because you were flying at Croft, of course, with 40 kilograms of ballast. He was struggling with 45. Goes to Anglesey, and he's the quicker of the two of you all of a sudden in race 1 and 2. After race 1, we were theorising that this might end up being a drop score for you. How the hell did you get through that pile-up in the first lap? Because I thought I thought you and Joel and everybody would be a goner, but you managed to just pop up out of nowhere into third.
Honestly, I don't really know. I got through the first corner all right, and then got a good run on Lee going up to the corner. Lee tried to squeeze me onto the grass, but I held it just and was a bit squirrely under braking. And then yeah, I braked and went into the corner, and I was fully on my brakes. I think I might have tapped Chris a tiny bit, but nothing major. And then everyone just constantly leaned into each other, and I somehow managed to just squirrel my way through into where I was, and then pick my way through. I started doing some decent laps at the start, and then yeah, pace again tailed off. But it's not brilliant, because I can't announce what I'm doing this year for racing wise, but I need to learn how to drive well around Anglesey, and after tonight, it doesn't fill me with much joy going there in real life.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can't deny it. It looks a bit of a scary place to go. But I'm sure it'll be a very enjoyable place to go, Nicky. Now, talking about the championship, you just said that you went on to the top. Well, obviously everything's provisional, but yeah, at the moment, you are 1 point clear of Joel Lask, which I think means you will get your 45 kilos of ballast on board. I'm not sure what his ballast goes to, but even if you're even then all of a sudden, that's going to make a very interesting battle, because in the first race, you obviously qualified pretty much next to each other as well. We got the penultimate round coming up now. What are your sort of thoughts? I don't think you've been involved in this closer championship run before, from memory. You're either far out in the lead, or you're sort of chasing from further back.
Yeah, I think the only other championship I've been this close was the old Porsche Cup back in, gosh, that was like 2022 now, with Kyle, when we were literally, I think we were 2 points, and then he had a horrendous couple of rounds, and then it kind of opened up from there. But yeah, in all honesty, if I take it as a drop score and I get done for penalties or whatever on Monday night, I benefit just as much as what I don't, because it benefits me from getting 5 kg less into a track that's literally flat out for most of it. But yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes, and if I keep just consistently putting in the podiums, it's gonna be good. But Elliot is ridiculously quick in this car. I don't know what he's been eating for breakfast, but that blue machine is so quick. Because had he have done the first 2 rounds, I don't think me and Joel would have been anywhere near him.
Well, yeah, I was going to say he's only 34 points back now, which, I mean, if we had 3 rounds to go, I would probably be suggesting that it's a little bit of a headache for you two. But with only 2 rounds, you probably will just about escape him, shall we say. Nicky, congratulations for the race win, first one of the season on the road anyway. And I'm sure we'll be speaking to you next week when we go to Thruxton, whether you've got 45 kg or not.
I do hope so. Thank you guys, and thank you Rich and everyone who puts on the championship.
Well done, Nicky, and thanks very much to Jack Oliphant. Really good evening, Jack. Enjoy with you and Rich as well. Thanks ever so much. Congratulations to race 1 winner Elliot Dalton-Ayres, race 2 winner Nicky Taylor, driver of the day Brad Smith. That is Anglesey action. We move to a thrash at Thruxton next week. Thanks for watching today. Join us next time. See you soon.